the world's most respected MMO news site, Massively Overpowered, comes a program that pits one MMO against another in a battle of wits. To the death. Welcome to Massively Opinionated. Media personalities from all over the internet come to this forum to face off in the ultimate debate. Everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion, but ours is the only one that matters. Having heard that someone was wrong on the internet, it's your host, Larry Everett!
Hey everybody, and welcome to Massively Opinionated. I am Larry Everett with Massively OP, and this show is all about debating those topics that you talk about in guild chat, on Mumble, on TeamSpeak. We know you have these conversations, and we're going to prove here by inviting, journalists and people from the gaming industry to battle it out themselves and have these debates, and we will decide a winner. Because there can only be one. We know this. We've learned that from Highlander. But today we're going to talk about the MMO industry in general, the people that make it, the companies behind it, and we're going to debate some of the topics along that line. And for that, I have invited some people that have been in gaming journalism for quite a while. First off, from MMOBomb, I have one of their reporters. I have who do I have? Jason Winter. How's it going?
Who the hell is this guy? This random guy on?
Yeah. No, I was trying to find the button to switch the camera. I'm like, which button do I... Okay, there we go. How's it going? How's it going, Jason?
Well, it's going good now that you remember who I am. But I'm here to restore the honor of MMOBomb because Mike Byrne lost last time he was on. I'm currently undefeated, and I'm going to run my streak to 3-0, bring honor back to MMOBomb, and just like in Highlander, I'm going to take Brendan's head off.
And speaking of Brendan, from from Massively OP, we have Brendan Drain. How's it going?
Hey, is it a bad thing that we run this and we've lost nearly every single one?
I know that is kind of crazy, right? And that we are about we're not doing so well. I think I think Tina is the only significant person from Massively OP that's won. So, wow, we need to work on our cred here a little bit, I guess. So I'll put that in the production notes. Make sure that Massively OP wins more often. All right. So, all right. So as I was saying, we're talking about the MMO industry today, and the first thing that the first question, we'll just get right into. Actually, let me explain the rules here real quick for those that maybe haven't seen this show before. What I've done is I've given these two gentlemen, I've given them 4 questions ahead of time for them to kind of do some research on and build an argument for this question, and then they'll give their arguments, they'll battle it out, they'll go back and forth a little bit, then I will decide after each question who had the best argument. This isn't necessarily which one that I think is the most right answer, but it is whoever had the best argument. And I'll award a point for each question, and the person at the end of the show that has the most points wins. And they win the internet or something. Maybe I'll get them a picture of it. Yeah, that's right. And whoever loses their head. That's the way Highlander works. All right. So the first question comes from something that happened really recently. John Smedley had stepped down, took a hiatus from Daybreak, although he's supposed to come back after a little bit of a hiatus. But it's at any rate, it was pretty shocking in general for somebody that significant to step down from their position. So what I asked is what was the most shocking thing that a developer has done in the MMO industry? And I'm going to throw this one over to Jason first to find out his answer. Go ahead. What did you have to say?
Okay. Well, since we're talking about CEOs leaving their post, I figured I'd stick with that train of thought. And I go with when Red 5 Studios kicked Mark Curran out of the office. And it's surprising and shocking, not because he didn't apparently seemed to deserve it because there's a lot of bad things said about him, which I'll get to in a moment. But it just seemed unprecedented for a CEO to be booted out of his game company, out of the place he helped found, basically, when he had so much power, and to just lose it so quickly, or maybe as bad as it was, maybe it was surprising that he managed to gain it as much as he did. But you look at the article, like there's a really good article Gamefront did a while back, interviewed a lot of different people who used to work there, worked a little off that one Reddit guy who said he used to work there and had a lot of really nasty details as well. I'm going to go over a few of the things from that Gamefront article about Mark Kern. It said he used to yell at people a lot, so he had a safe word people could use if he was getting too abusive.
Wow.
So there was that. This is a direct quote from the article. He would rage email people in the small hours of the night or on weekends. So that's great to come home to when you're just after you go to a picnic on Saturday, come home at 8 p.m. and see Mark Kern screaming at you in email. He would disappear for months at a time, come back, and then trash everything that had been worked on in his absence. But here's my favorite bit. Here's my favorite thing that happened to him. While he was CEO, he was banned from his own forums. Like, how do you do that? How much of an ass do you have to be to have done that? And I mean, you go into all the other stuff, all the money that they just blew on that bus, on their really awful reality TV show, or the not the reality TV, but the scripted stuff, the acting stuff that they had. I watched like 2 minutes of that, and I was like, "Oh my god, people paid money to do this." So yeah, I mean, and it was a good move, I think, for them to have gotten rid of him, because if you look at, like, I'm doing an article on MMORPG.com, cheap plug. I'm going to be talking about Glassdoor ratings. Glassdoor is a site where employees can leave feedback about what they think of a company.
Yeah,
I did this article back in 2013, back in September, which is about 3 months before he got kicked out. The average review for Red 5 Studios at this time was 2.3 out of 5. Since then, in 2015, when I just ran checked it a couple weeks ago, it was up to 3.4. That's the biggest increase any company had in that time.
Whoa.
So It was surprising that he got kicked out, just because that just seems unprecedented. I mean, it's a little like maybe what happened with Smith. We don't know exactly how much of that was his own volition, how much of it might have been something else or another. But Kern was definitely booted out of there, which was just amazing to see. But it looks like it was the right move to make on pretty much all fronts, because Firefall's out now. It's doing pretty well and seems to be a lot more popular both with fans and with the employees working there.
Yeah. All right. You got a fight on your hands. What do you get? What is it?
Okay.
What is your answer there, Brendan?
I guess, the whole Mark Kern thing, you could go either way on that. I mean, he did, as CEO, manage to raise an awful lot of money from wherever to be able to fund all that stuff. And he did do it as a bit of a vanity project. And then whenever everything started going tits up, they got rid of him. But, I mean, okay, that's pretty shocking. I think the biggest shocker in the MMO industry in the last God knows how many years was definitely Monocle Gate or EVE Online. I mean, it has to be. Let me just run down a couple of the events that led up to this. So, EVE Online had grown year on year in subscriber numbers for every year of its life. It was doing remarkably well. It was hitting massive news posts coming out every now and then on some big event that happened, and it was pulling in loads of players, loads of money. What the actual players noticed was that over the years, the expansions had started getting a wee bit light on it. That there wasn't a lot of development being put towards the kind of things that they liked in EVE. And the common refrain among the player base was, okay, well, the money's going on World of Darkness, it's going on Dust 514, and it's going on the walking in station stuff, which we were promised in 2006. And they had a prototype that they showed off around 2006. And we're like, okay, fair enough. When that comes out, maybe it's going to be a big Watergate moment for the game. It's going to be a watershed moment, sorry. So I kept that gate in the head.
You actually are kind of going to be close to that with what you're going to talk about now.
But, I mean, we thought it was going to be this big thing. And they screwed up in every possible way. First, they actually release the walking in stations thing way before it's ready. There's no walking in stations. There is walking down a corridor into your, for want of a better term, your bedroom. They give each player a bedroom, right? You've got this captain's quarters. It's got, okay, it was pretty awesome. It was pretty good as a tech demo to show, look, your character is now a full avatar walking around in the station. Brilliant. You couldn't interact with any other players in it. And then it turned out whenever players started playing around with, they really obviously released clothes and stuff, the microtransactions with that you could spend on. And I'll be honest, a lot of people, myself included, were kind of looking forward to that. I mean, I honestly want to buy some of these microtransactions, but then whenever they actually came out, it was like $70 for a monocle. And this is something you could only show off inside your little captain's quarters, or in the case of the monocle, on your avatar picture. People worked out that it cost $20 for a t-shirt, cost more for an in-game t-shirt than a real-life t-shirt. Significantly more. I mean, the prices were crazy. And what actually ended up coming out of that was basically, they wouldn't say it, but CCP was hurting for money. Dust 514 should have been out. It should have been generating revenue. And it wasn't. So I guess this was a bit of a cash grab. The most shocking thing happened when, I think, when there was a leak came out in the form of this internal newsletter they have called Fearless that just gets sent around internally just to kind of show what's going on in the company, what's going on with the game, and where are we headed, kind of thing. And it was entitled. This issue was entitled "Greed is Good," and I explained about how all their new policy, their new direction is microtransactions, and it even said things like, and this is the big thing. They said things like, "Not all microtransactions will be cosmetic. Some of them will be in-game items like buying ships and standings and stuff directly for cash." And that was a big deal. Now, this is granted supposed to be internal, and it was supposed to be something that they could then, say, people could read it and flag up, oh, actually, haven't we already previously said we would never do that? Which is exactly what happened. But yeah, so this gets leaked. Everyone goes absolutely nuts and realizes these $70 microtransactions are a direct result of this new. This isn't like an accident. Someone hasn't accidentally typoed or, misjudged the market or whatever. This is their new direction. This is what we are in for the next 10 years. And then right when that happened, the CEO released this memo to staff saying, and I thought that was the best. It's the best lines. It's iconic now. It says, "There's a lot of noise on the forum about microtransactions and everything." It says, "But I just wanted to let everyone know, that we're not watching what players say. We're watching what they do." I think that was a very faithful thing to say, because players stopped just bitching about it and started unsubscribing. They started doing something. So, unofficially, they've obviously never released the info, but unofficially, an insider told me that they'd lost 8% of accounts over the span of 2 weeks. And that really hit them, because they didn't seem to have a financial buffer in place, and they had a loan that was just coming due. So in the end, we ended up, they dropped 20% of their staff worldwide. Now, that's not the most shocking thing. Okay? That's pretty shocking. Every stage of that is pretty damn shocking. The most shocking thing was they turned it around. The CEO came out, said, "You know what? This was the direction we were taking, and we were wrong. Hands up. We screwed up." And they promised to take on player feedback again, and to work with the community to try and make sure that they were doing enough for the existing EVE players. they had several expansions just to fix all the broken stuff in the game that had been piling up for years. The game is now in the most playable state it's ever been in, and they're doing massive expansions again. They turned it completely around. And I think if most companies had done that, I think most CEOs would have just held to their previous statements. They would never have admitted they were wrong straight up in the public environment. I mean, investors wouldn't be happy with a CEO doing that, for example, but CCP being mostly privately owned can do what they want. No company would have actually admitted they'd done something wrong and changed like that. I think that was the most surprising part of it for me. But the whole thing is my argument.
Okay, so I do have a question for you regarding this. Is how is this more significant? How is this like more of a shocking thing, especially the turnaround part of it? Because I didn't really. I mean, I guess I kind of noticed it because peripherally, but I didn't really make note of it until you just pointed it out to me. So how is that more shocking in general than what Mark Kern?
I think the thing with Mark Kern was, it is unprecedented I guess it's not unprecedented for someone to be run out of their own company. It happens, especially if there are investor interests who are threatening to pull money or whatever went on behind the scenes that we don't know.
Right.
But
disagrees.
Yeah. But it is pretty. I think it's pretty unprecedented for the CEO of a major company to just put his hands up and go, "Hey, we screwed up big time. Now we're gonna like really, really try and fix it," and to actually follow through on it. I don't think I can't really think of another case of that happening on that kind of scale.
Oh, I can.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
Final Fantasy 14.
Okay, yeah, I'll grant you that.
They totally. It's the same. Yeah, it's like, and with every other AAA game, launching and being terrible. Batman: Arkham Asylum being the most recent one. They seem to be doing that a lot more these days.
But we're talking specifically about MMOs.
Well, okay, sure.
In the MMO genre, that hasn't happened very much.
Tryon apologizes every other week about Arcade, it seems. We're usually to the point of we're sorry we can't do anything XL games, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and in 2011, selling ships, for money and all that stuff would have seemed really amazing. But now it's just Star Citizen. So I mean.
Yeah, I think that's quite surprising. The fact that Star Citizen's got away with doing a lot of stuff that we've been basically bitching about in other games. That should have been our answer.
The most shocking thing that Star Citizen keeps drawing people in. So,
so all right. So, I guess.
I guess you got to give me the point because.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I gotta say I think that I think that there's I'm gonna go I guess is there any final arguments on this on either sides of it, or can I go ahead and make a call on it?
Nah, go ahead.
I think I've made my case.
Okay, all right.
I think it's clear how this.
I just want to make sure. So I think that it is definitely significant. Both of these that are definitely significant. They made on both sides. I mean, we got one that was because once Mark Kern left, it was clearly it changed. It changed Red 5. Red 5 was definitely a different company, definitely made different game. And then obviously with Eve, I mean, you showed that it turned around too. And but I think as far as just making the biggest impact on the game itself, and then on the MMO community, I think what happened with Mark Kern stood out just a little bit more because
nobody plays Eve.
Well, because because I think well, it's kind of to that effect, but not exactly. But it's more like
I had to explain to people why people get such a big deal at each stage of the way.
Right.
Why we were doing the rounds on YouTube shows and stuff. So.
At any rate, I think that as far as it affected just I think affected just the EVE community and didn't affect the MMO, MMO genre as a whole. And so therefore, I'm giving the point to Jason. So congratulations on getting 1 point.
First of many.
And I'm pretty sure that's your last point. I see these other questions.
And so if Brendan's Brendan's next, the answer to this next question is EVE Online, I might actually just have to give him a point, because.
Good to know ahead of time.
So, all right. The next question I have is kind of I did this one kind of for fun because I thought it was interesting because there's all sorts of games that come out that are like, why in the world? And
this is the question where all the people who love these games are going to just hate us.
I know. We're gonna drudge up so much hate right now, but
I'm gonna get so much hate for this answer. Go on.
But anyway,
it is EVE Online. That'll be amazing.
Anyway, the question was which AAA. So I'm not going to count these little indie games that come out all over the place because I'm sure we could name a whole bunch of them. But which AAA MMO should never have existed? And I'm going to throw it to Brendan first. So go ahead.
Okay.
Lay on the hate.
I'm not going to say EVE Online, although EVE Online did kind of like it did go against all odds, and people were, whenever they were demoing it to publishers and stuff, people were like looking under the table for where's your supercomputer and stuff. But no, I'm going to say Star Citizen because although it's not released, it's in an alpha state. And
okay, you couldn't see because I had the camera on somebody else on just Brendan. You couldn't see Jason's and I's face go.
You guys can't see this, but it's in his nameplate under his picture. It says Christina Loro. He says he's Brendan Drain, but he's actually Derek Smart.
Okay, go ahead, Brendan. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. Go ahead.
There's a positive and negative part to this. So the positive part, obviously, Star Citizen should never have existed because its funding model should never have taken off. I mean, it's crazy. Crowdfunding is insane. I've crowdfunded a game for, I've got about 70 grand through crowdfunding, and that's for an indie game. But these guys got millions, and I think I don't think anyone ever expected that crowdfunding would become such a huge thing that that they would end up getting the likes of 2 million, 3 million on Kickstarter for a game, particularly for a game that's such a huge scope. But also, I don't think anyone ever expected that they would continue to be able to continue to crowdfund post Kickstarter and get up to, they're on 87 million or something now.
Yeah, I think that's about right. That's about right.
No, I remember when they hit like 20, they were just about to hit 20 million, and it was just after they'd hit 20 million, and they said, okay, guys, now we've got, this is how much we said the game was going to cost. Now we no longer need to go to a publisher, to an investor. You guys have managed to fund the entire game yourselves. But tax will add another million or two to that. So we're going to keep taking your money. So then they got to the 21 million and they said, okay, now we've got the 20 million budget that we can work with. But if you like, we could keep taking your money and make the game better. And everyone was like, brilliant. Let's keep shoveling money at it. Right. Then they hit, what was it, like 60 million when they hit? And they decided no more stretch goals because people were complaining about feature creep. Like, okay, fair enough. Forgetting for the moment that their stretch goals were things like, for an extra $1 million, they will add a star system, and they can hire someone and put someone on that, and that's essentially a managed cost. That's less than $1 million, obviously, to make. So, it's not going to take them longer by hiring someone to put them on that content. Fine. Putting that aside, they stopped making stretch goals, and people still kept giving them money. I don't even know where it's coming from at this point. I mean, and the best thing is people are spending the money on ships that you can get in the game anyway.
Yeah.
all they're spending it on is to get, I think, the lifetime insurance on the ships, and like they've already been told it won't make that much of a difference in the actual game. And there's people who have like you'll see a post that goes up in Star Citizens forums or on their site where they're like, oh, here's a new limited edition ship, and here's a bunch of stats for this thing that doesn't exist. And people are like, oh, it looks better than this ship, which also doesn't exist. And they're like, I think I'll add it to my fleet. I've already got these 10 ships. I'm like, what are you going to do with 10 ships? You can fly one ship, right? Am I right about that, Star Citizen? It's like kind of...
Well, it's one ship. It's one ship at a time.
Yeah. You gotta have a different one for every day of the week.
Yeah.
And this is space, so there's like 12 days in the week. So, they got room for more.
Granted, people want different ships for different purposes, but there's people who like literally buy every single one. And then they do like a sale where they're like, okay, this is an exclusive, limited edition, only so many of these ships to be released. They're $2,000 each. And they're gone in 10 seconds. And I get also that some people are probably buying into it, thinking, it's an investment vehicle that there's an aftermarket for the ships, and a gray market for the ships, and they can like resell them and whatever. But at some point, this game's either not going to come out, it's going to either disappear and everyone will be raging, or it'll come out, and even if it's good, the people will be left holding the bag. And the bag is getting increasingly bigger. We're talking people are going to be left with thousands of dollars that they've pumped into a game that I get for like $20. Yeah. And I don't mind playing the game to get stuff because they're going to have nothing else to do. They're going to be sitting there going, "Yep, I already have pre-bought the entire game. I've got all the ships.
Pre-bought the leveling system and pre-bought. Yeah, all right."
And I'm like, yeah. And second, I don't think Star Citizen, the negative part, if that wasn't negative enough, I don't think Star Citizen should exist because one, they could secure that money themselves via other means, and they're only doing it. And I get this because I've crowdfunded the game. I know that it's basically they're doing it because it's low risk, because they're not legally, well, it's a gray area. They're not really, as long as they try and fulfill all the rewards, it's very low risk. If everything suddenly went tits up, it's a safety net. And there's no interest on it in the way you would get with like a loan, or an investor who's coming in is obviously looking for money back eventually on it and stuff. So I mean, it is, I get why they're doing it, but they've also kind of ruined crowdfunding, because like how many crowdfunding should be for like small projects, things that wouldn't be possible without the crowdfunding. These guys not only were possible without the crowdfunding, but after they got their 2 million, they could have gone to an investor and gone, look, here's the interest, here's 2 million that we've got. This is a sure thing. Give us 60 million. But they didn't. They just kept accepting more and more crowdfunding. And the trends are showing that the amount of money going to smaller projects has gone down. And also because they're such a big professional level organization, they're putting out these brilliant updates. People expect smaller developers to do the same. So now crowdfunding itself has got way more competitive because of that. No one can get the money to fund their small game anymore. It's getting really difficult to get money unless you're Shenmue and you get shown at E3 and millions of dollars just get rained on you, And that's my big point. I'd say that I don't think crowdfunding should be a vehicle for funding games that can already get made from big publishers who can get, or big developers who can get publishing deals, who can get the thing. It should be for making things possible that wouldn't otherwise be possible.
All right, so basically, so basically, it's the reason, and I definitely accept this answer because, although I did ask for a AAA game, and technically this is indie, but it is a AAA game because of the amount of money being poured into it, right?
Well, the definition, and this kind of annoys me that the worldwide gaming community's kind of got this idea that AAA and indie are separate. But AAA is a funding category, and indie, it's just become a term for independent. So you can be both. I mean, technically, I think when Blizzard was purchased back from Activision. When Vivendi purchased those back, technically they're independent. Doesn't mean World of Warcraft's an indie game. But go on.
Yeah. All right. So, huge answer from Brendan there. And Jason, how are you going to counter that one?
Yeah, I think we've already taken up all the time for the show, so I'm just sorry. No, that's all right. No, that's fine. Less work for me. But yeah, I'll probably be shorter here. Shorter, but full of more rage. How about that? My answer for the MMO that should never have been made is the Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh man, we're people are going to hate us. We are going to get so much hate for this show. You realize that you're going to get Twitter flamed, and it's going to.
You want to guarantee that? Make the title for this article: "Star Citizen and the Elder Scrolls Online should never have been made."
Oh, all right. That's totally we've just titled this. Sorry, that's totally what it's going to be. All right. Go ahead, Jason. Explain why should the Elder Scrolls Online not exist?
I always like to call the Elder Scrolls Online. I call it the MMO nobody wanted, because nobody wanted an Elder Scrolls. We all love Elder Scrolls games. We all love going around and doing stuff, whatever. We love Skyrim. Some of us love Oblivion, Morrowind, whatever. At no point did I think this game would be so much better if there were 50 other people all crowded around this merchant here. At no point did I believe that. And I don't think anyone else ever did either. We all talk about having some sort of like multiplayer aspect to them, a kind of Skyrim Online or something like that, where you have a few friends or something, you go and take down a dragon, whatever. That would be kind of neat. Instead, we get this. We got Elder Scrolls. The thing about it is the open world nature. The open world, the ability to do whatever you want. All the mods and so on. That's a big deal of it too. Whereas it's really kind of fairly generic fantasy. It's nice. It's done pretty well, but it's not anything you look at as going, "Oh man, I love the world. I do love a lot of the lore and everything from it." But I never thought, man, this is something I want to be playing just all the time. It's so amazing, so different, and I just think that what they never quite figured out, and this is actually, I'll get to this in a second, but they never quite figured out whether they were making, and SWTOR does this exact same thing, which I know Larry loves, but they never figured out if they were making a single-player game or an MMO. And this is actually, if you remember a few months ago, a guy who used to work for Turbine made a Reddit post about all the things that went wrong there and whatever. And one of the things he mentioned, too, is after he left, a buddy of his who he worked with at Turbine went to ZeniMax. He left there, and then when they got back together, that guy said that, basically, they couldn't figure out if they were making World of Warcraft or the next Elder Scrolls game. Like half the company thought they were doing one, half the company thought they were doing the other. And I just feel like it's that lack of focus and that lack of not being sure what it was trying to be, and not ever really being able to stay true to the source material in an MMO. I don't think that was ever going to be possible. And I think in that sense, it is not a game that should have been made. They should have gone with a Fallout Online instead, I think.
So I guess we're kind of approaching this argument from two different directions, which is really interesting. I think that makes for an interesting discussion here, and I think this should probably be the focus of this of why one is
why you're giving me the point.
why one argument is more significant than the other is one has to do with how the game is funded and in which direction that it goes about getting money, and then the impact that the fallout, I guess, it would have from that point, and then the other one is about how it should have been Fallout Online and not Elder Scrolls Online. But the other focus is on I guess not specifically the story, but more along the lines of the setting and the venue of the game itself, and how that should have not been made into an MMO. So basically, I guess that's kind of why is it more significant, and go ahead.
I feel that like Jason's argument is essentially that the game was very unlikely. That no one expected it, or half the people expected it to be one thing, half expected it to be the other, and we got this kind of middle ground. And really, it was a very unlikely game to come out. It shouldn't have happened. But I'd say I've said pretty much the same thing about Star Citizen, that it was very unlikely to have happened, and I think that a lot of things, maybe not everything, but a lot of things are worse off for it having happened. That crowdfunding's been a wee bit pressed into Star Citizen because or pulled away from other sources because it's going into Star Citizen, and it's done a lot of damage.
So I guess my question then is to Jason then is how because I think Brendan has shown that there's definite impact on not just other MMOs that are trying to get made and whatnot, but also on kickstarting in general and crowdfunding in general. Is there a similar impact, would you say, on another section, maybe because of Elder Scrolls or games like it coming out? Is there an impact on the MMO community in some other way?
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly talk about Star Wars Old Republic being, this was going to be the big AAA game. There's going to be box and sub, and it's going to last forever because we have such a big thing behind it and whatever. And even after that happened, it seems like you should have just known that it wasn't going to work again. Yet Elder Scrolls Online came out, tried to do the exact same thing, tried to have this huge, probably 100 million or so price tag on it. And then when that couldn't hang on to the sub fee, now you just look at it and you think, well, nobody's going to be able to do it anymore. It's just, and even some people, I mean, there's just an article on Massively today, I think, or just the other day, saying, you just can't do big box MMOs. It was Brad McQuaid's blog post. That's what it was.
Yeah,
that you guys talked about on there. And I think Elder Scrolls Online has really almost solidified that notion now that you just can't do a big full feature MMO anymore. Not necessarily a WoW killer or a WoW replacement, but even just something that tries to appeal to a mass audience. And you almost wonder if that is a little bit of what's going wrong with EverQuest Next, because they're trying to obviously going to make they want to make a game that's going to appeal to a very large number of people, and now they're probably looking at what Elder Scrolls Online and what SWTOR, other games like that have done, seeing how they've struggled with that sort of thing, and that's probably slowing them down a little bit too, and helping or maybe even hurting or maybe helping them figure out what kind of focus they need to take with their games. So I think it is significant in the larger sense of things.
Well, I think that's not something that we can really ascribe to Elder Scrolls Online. I think that's a continuous thing. It's happened constantly for that. I mean, you brought up yourself, Star Wars Old Republic. WildStar still tried to do it.
WildStar was never going to be a big deal.
I know, but, I mean, it thought it was.
A lot of things can think things.
I mean, another not so recent example, Age of Conan, when that came out, they tried to do everything. They had PvP arenas all ready for release and stuff, and people were like, why would I want to play this? And nobody played them. I mean, there's been game after game after game has tried to do everything that previous games have done, and it won't work. You're competing with a game that has had 10 years now. If you're doing it,
that's the point of it, though, is that we're in an era where they should know better, and they still don't.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think I don't think that's something you can ascribe particularly to Elder Scrolls Online. I don't think it's the straw that broke the camel's back. I think, and I guarantee you, there will be another big blockbuster MMO. Someone will try it and they've managed to convince an investor that 100 million MMO can still be done. But we've known this for years that it can't be done. I mean, the media's been talking about it. We've written hundreds of articles about it all over the web, but people are still funding it. I mean, maybe this is the one that convinces the investors to stop throwing their money at it, but I can't see it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think, and I'm going to go ahead and make a ruling on it. I think Brendan hit it right on the head there when he said that. If we have the same argument in like a year or 2 years from now, we can say that, oh yeah, Elder Scrolls Online was definitely the one that killed everything. But right now, I just don't think there's enough evidence to support that. However, there is significant evidence to support the impact that Star Citizen has had on crowdfunding in general. So, gosh, I hate ruling this because I'm going to get so much hate for this. I know I am, but I'm going to have to
share in the hate. We all
man. So I'm going to have to go side with Brendan on this one and say that Star Citizen was the one that shouldn't have existed.
And I would like, now that I've already won the point, I would like to qualify that I have no problems with Star Citizen. please don't send me hate mail and
send all. Brendan's email address is.
But no, I mean, and we don't know that Star Citizen has killed crowdfunding, but it has the potential to, and that's.
Oh, now he backs away.
I've won the point now. I haven't.
I just want to make sure. I want everyone to I want everyone to understand too that I actually hate everything. So.
Okay.
All right. So send all the heat.
Your camera's frozen on my screen.
No, it's just your screen. He's fine on mine. Right. So send your hate mail to Jason Winter at. No, never mind.
No.
All right. So excellent argument so far. So next question I want to ask, and this one, I usually here's the thing with this one is I usually ask what big boss would win against what other big boss or something along that line. Well, we can't when we're talking about the industry itself. We can't really do that because But anyway, so what I did is I tried to commit. Could
John Smedley beat Mark Curran?
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't do right. I couldn't do Scott Hartzman against John Smedley or something along that line because that would be totally unfair because we know that John Smedley would beat up Scott Hartzman because he's about this big. But so what I did is I said which if money and profits weren't part of the equation here, we're just talking about the skill of the game developer themselves. Which studio would make the best MMO? And went to Jason on the first question, so I'm going to go to Jason again on this one. So, Jason, which studio did you pick, and why did you pick that?
Well, I picked a company that certainly doesn't have any money problems, so they could probably do something pretty cool if they wanted to. But I went with Rockstar Games because I really like what they've done with the pseudo MMO portions of Grand Theft Auto 5 Online. I know it's kind of an MMO. It gets covered on a lot of the MMO sites, but it's still kind of like an add-on to the original base game. So it still seems kind of like it's not its own thing. I'd really like to see what would happen if they actually went all out, try to make a full-featured MMO, fully committed to it, fully did all the online aspects of it, whatever kind of stuff you feel need, whatever kind of genre. Obviously, they do better with the kind of modern-day, driving and shooting kind of stuff. Certainly that could work. I could almost see if I could think of a company that could probably do a really good like Game of Thrones MMO. That seems like the sort of thing that I'd see maybe a Rockstar kind of do. Because you have your horses. It'd be like a Grand Horse Auto or Grand
Theft Horse.
That's what it is. Yeah, there you go. You pull someone down off their horse and you get on and you go around. And you commit crime or you be a good knight. You help people out or whatever.
Grand Theft Horse.
Grand Theft. Or actually, Game of Thrones, you go up to the Iron Throne, you pull Joffrey off, and you sit on it yourself. And then you put rockets on it, and you fly around in the Iron Throne. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really interesting to see what they could do with and they also, of course, they have a bit of a mature edge to their games, which is something you don't see a whole lot in MMOs, and they might tone that down a little bit, just a tiny bit for bring it down to at least R instead of NC-17 or whatever, but. Or what is it? I guess they're mature. Yeah, they are mature. They're not AO, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's a company that they've got a long pedigree. They've been around for a while. They've made a lot of games. They've done a really great job with their open world stuff. So yeah, I'd like to see the Rockstar MMO. Get on that, guys. Get on the Game of Thrones thing. Big Point's doing nothing with it, so I'm sure you get it for cheap.
Right. All right. So Brendan, CCP is your answer, right?
It has to be. Well, my point is that they did an awful lot of good work.
Well, they did awful. I mean,
they did good work with Inferno right up until they actually released the captain's quarters, and then they were forced to cut it because it wasn't economically viable to continue creating walking in stations when everyone was raging against it, and it was just a money grab. But if they had, if money and profitability was no object, they would continue that work, and they wouldn't have had to fire 20% of their staff and all sorts, and World of Darkness wouldn't have got cut if not for money. I'm pretty sure they would have continued that. That's a no-brainer for development. So I think a lot of CCP's problems have been just money related. They've tried to spread themselves a little too thin. And if that wasn't a problem, we could get some really good stuff out of it. Because I know they have a lot of talented guys. And yeah. I don't know what type of MMO they'd make. I'd say World of Darkness. If money was no object.
I was going to say, we've already seen what happens when CCP doesn't care about profitability. They make Dust 514.
Oh,
Problem is, I think that's the opposite argument. I think they made that because they thought of profitability. They wanted to get their fingers in the free to play market. Because obviously, the market was changing at that point. Subscriptions were on the way out, and they were like, we need experience in that. So I think that was motivated by profit rather than the other way around.
Sure. I just had to put a dig in there somehow. I'm just saying they've made other games, and it's Well,
the other thing is they're not afraid to experiment as well because they're privately owned.
$70 monocles, of course they aren't.
Well, there's things like Valkyrie. Valkyrie came out of a tech demo that one of the devs did in their spare time because someone happened to have an Oculus Rift, and then they were showing off a whole lot of weird VR demos at the last EVE Fan Fest, and some of those could be pretty damn good. I mean, if the Oculus launches, those could be like, the Wii Sports of Oculus Rift. So, I mean, if money was no object, I think they could do an awful lot with those experiments.
So what I'd like to hear from Jason. I mean, I'm familiar with Rockstar's work in general, beyond just GTA. But what I like to hear from you, I guess, is some examples of what they've actually done that would work well in developing a really, really awesome MMO, possibly from something other than GTA Online.
I don't really need to go much beyond GTA. I mean, they have obviously the ability to create very engrossing campaigns if you want that single player kind of feel. They've done really well with that. They have multiple different kinds of gameplay modes in all of the games. They don't have crafting. That's about the only thing they don't have. But otherwise, you've got the driving, you got the shooting, you got the running, you got races, they put in the heists and so on now in GTA Online. They've done all sorts of different things, and I think they have shown that they're capable of a lot of different elements. They just haven't put in real MMO style progression, which might be a good thing. I mean, the kind of basic sort of leveling and gear grind or whatever is not necessarily what people want anymore, but I think you could at least MMOize stuff a little bit more than what they've done in their games. So yeah, I mean, I think they've shown that they have the capability to do a lot of different stuff, and even to, like I said, to go beyond just the straight up guns and shooting and so on. Because they have games like Bully, games like LA Noire, which has the investigation stuff, which was kind of neat. Probably doesn't fit into an MMO kind of category, but they definitely have shown the ability to do more than just gangsters and shooting and guns.
Okay, Brendan, any last things you'd like to point out?
Yeah, I'd say money already is no object with Rockstar. If they wanted to do that game, they could do it. So I think, in the spirit of the question, that if money were no object, who would do best? I think Rockstar could do best without it, or could do well without it. So it has to be a company that
I think CCP's had
limited by money.
I think CCP's already had its chances, even with whatever money they've got.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and make a ruling on this one a little bit, and gosh, what I really want, and I'll tell you from my perspective, and this is just well, if I were to make this argument, I would definitely side with Jason on this one. Because Rockstar, I love what they've done with GTA Online. I love some of the other things that they've done, like LA Noire, and I really think that we need a more modern day besides Secret World. We need another modern day MMO. But I think the best argument was made by Brendan, so I'm going to have to give Brendan the point here because he's shown. I mean, with World of Darkness, that the World of Darkness and Incarna and some of the other things that CCP has done or has tried to do in the past has been a money limitation, and take that away, and this would have been, we would have, at least at least the Eve players would have got what they wanted.
You know what the greatest MMO of all time is? You know what?
The one that hasn't been made?
Yes. And that's why everybody still loves World of Darkness or Project Copernicus, Stargate Worlds, whatever you like.
Yeah, that's Star Citizen's business model right there. Selling you promises.
Oh gosh! So we have the score as it stands right now is Brendan with 2 and Jason with 1. So Jason, you got this is you got to tie it up, and then we go into a bonus round where I ask an unprepared question. So, all right. So I'm going to go to Brendan first on this one, and the question that I asked, I'm going to go back to payment models because that's been that's been a big thing still. Crazily is still a big thing, and it's a big stickler with a lot of MMO players. And what I asked them to do is to take an existing game, revamp its payment model, and then make it better. And so I asked, which game would it be, and how would you make the payment model better? And so I'm going to pick which one is the best conversion here. So let me go to Brendan first to answer this one. And
So yeah, first I'm as surprised as you to see that for example, like subscriptions coming back in and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the MMO business models have been a kind of weird topic over the last couple of years. And also, there's no good stats because
they don't release anything. They don't release anything.
Yeah. And then whenever they look at the money made by like free to play MMOs, the last stats that came out on that said that League of Legends was the top MMO when it's not an MMO. So I'm like, we can't actually say how big free to play is in the MMO scene because no one's doing proper stats.
Yeah.
But so which game would I revamp the business model? I'm going to say EVE Online. And
I'm totally surprised.
I'm going to make a free to play EVE Online, but I'm going to do it without ruining the existing business model and without alienating current players. So
the game's never been made.
So, right now, EVE Online is subscription based, but they had a real genius moment, and this is way ahead of a lot of other companies that have since basically seen it and gone and adopted it. They had this kind of genius moment where it was almost an accident where they just allowed people to transfer game time codes to people in exchange for in-game money, and they just said, okay, we're making a ruling. That's okay. We're not going to ban you for doing that. And over time, that kind of evolved into just a general thing that everyone does. Then they codified that. They said they introduced an item called Plex. The pilot's license, you can turn any game time code, say a 30-day game time code, you turn that into a 30-day pilot's license, and then you can trade that on the in-game market. That's an in-game item now. You've injected that into the game. People can buy it off the market and activate it and get 30 days on their account. So I think, that was already a big innovation, and we've seen World of Warcraft and RuneScape and a million other MMOs have adopted that. But I think it could be made better. So my idea is that you make EVE free to play, but you get things behind the pilot's license. So you can sign up, you can have your account, you can sit in a station, you can spin your ships around, you can do market stuff, limited stuff. Say like you can make manufacture, you can do planetary industry, and you can do a limited number of things with. Maybe you can pilot a shuttle or something with a free account, but you need a pilot's license to actually get into a ship. So if you're not a paying player, then you're stuck in a station, but you can still log in and be part of the community. And if you are a paying player, then you've just got the game as it is now. And the idea behind this is that we've noticed that people who stay in EVE longer are the ones who are actively logging in. So why not just reduce the barrier to logging in to absolutely nothing? So you can log in, be a part of the community, and then maybe like something big starts happening, and you're like, oh crap, I wish I had a pilot's license. And you're like, screw it, buy one. So you're right there when something pulls you into the game. And I think just having that capability is huge. And the other thing is obviously like it would make people would make alt accounts, and basically there'd be a whole portion of the game that free players could get involved in and stuff. But yeah, that's the way I would do it.
Okay. So basically, it's still you're building off the Plex system that's already existing, and the Plex, and basically you get a pilot's license if you have Plex, and you get it for a month, and you have to renew it once a month.
It's just your normal subscription is just you have a pilot's license,
and because Plex can be bought in game if you yeah, gotcha. All right, Jason.
All right. I apparently didn't see the part in your question where you said talk about an existing game. So that's where I'm veering a little off the track, but I still think my answer is totally valid because it's an existing payment model, even if it's for a game that doesn't exist yet because they talked about it and something. Okay. We'll count it. So with that, I'm going to go with an upcoming game, Warhammer 40K Eternal Crusade by Behavior Interactive.
Okay.
It's not out yet, but it sounds kind of like a Warhammer 40K flavored PlanetSide 2. It'll be the 4 different factions. You're going to have big wars over different swaths of territory, capture bases, kill each other, that sort of thing. All sounds pretty cool. It's not going to be free to play though, like PlanetSide, which, all right, I can sort of agree with that. If that's what you're going to do, if you want to charge a box price, even if you want to do a box plus a sub, okay, fine. You want to do it that way, that's fine. Except it is just a little bit free to play. What they're doing is they're making it so that you can play for free. It's going to have a box price, but you can play for free. However, you can only be the Orc Boys, which is the basic soldier of the Orc faction, which is weaker than your typical soldier, and of course, only the one faction. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. See, again, we're keeping with my notion that I hate everything, just so you know. Brendan was all optimistic, like, oh, free-to-play Eve, it would be so wonderful we could do this. I'm just like, these guys are screwing up, and I'm going to call them out on it. So not only do you have to play, if you're free-to-play, you play as a worse character. You're not as good as everyone else. So you're going to get fried. So you're going to really enjoy doing that, I bet. It's going to make you want to spend money on the game, to be playing an underpowered character and getting your ass kicked all over the place. That's going to really encourage you to spend money on the game. Second, you can only play as a member of this one faction, one of the 4 factions. So, first of all, what if I want to play as one of the other factions? What if I want to be a Space Marine or Eldar or whatever? What if I want to be one of those instead? Nope, you got to play as an Orc. But I don't want to play. You're playing as a freaking Orc. Get used to it. Okay, fine. So I can't even play what I might want to play to encourage me to be free. And then finally, you're going to have all the paid players are going to be, you figure, roughly distributed about 25% in each of the 4 factions. Except the Orcs are going to get all these extra little Zerglings to hang out with them. So how is that not going to make them overpowered? This is like the worst possible way you could choose to do your free to play. And they should either, if they're going to keep the box price, fine, do that, but have the free to play be actually real. Make it a limited free to play. That's fine. Maybe you limit it to say, like the equivalent of like level 10 or battle rank 10 if you're going to talk PlanetSide or something like that. You can't advance past that point. And let them make characters of all 4 of the factions. So they're all equal on equal strength, up to whatever level 10 or whatever battle rank 10. So they can try all 4 factions. They can try up to a certain advancement level, and then if they want to keep going past that, then they have to pay. That, I think, is a much better way to do that.
Okay. I'm going to ask this right up front to you, Jason, since you're already answering the question. How is this better or more significant than, say, what Brendan's doing with Plex?
How is it better? Well, it makes the game actually playable. It makes it something you'd actually want to do. See, I think you put like Eve and free to play are like matter and antimatter. You put them together, and they're going to explode. You might have the greatest idea for an Eve free to play system, but they are just not going to go for it.
I know. I fully accept that.
You could have the greatest idea. This is actually something that I think improves the game, and that I think people would actually enjoy, and would surprisingly would also be good for the company as well. So I think that's why
I think yours has a better chance of being actually used. Yet, and second, it is matter and antimatter. But I think my idea has more merit, though. They're both basically limiting.
I'll admit I took the easy. I'll grant you, but
I think they're both basically the same idea. Is that you can have a free player who is limited in some way compared to a paid player. I mean, obviously that's not new. I mean, RuneScape's done that since forever. But I just think EVE Online, as a current just subscription game, could totally use that. Oh, and also it would help obfuscate the player activity numbers, which people are currently like examining with a microscope, going, "Oh, they've gone down by 3% this month, so that's bad for the company." I'm like,
so Brendan, you're saying your idea is going to help hide hide things for CCP. So it's going to help.
Whenever you go free to play, you like triple your player base. That's what we've had 1 million people sign up in the last month or whatever. So
then whenever there's a downward trend, you just go, "Oh, it's just free players."
Yeah,
no, whenever there's a downward trend, you say we have. They're all still active. Everyone still has an active account because they're all free to play. You say we still have 1.5 million players. Just only like 50,000 are logging in.
Right? Exactly.
Hey, whatever.
Wow. This one's a little bit difficult because no, it's not.
Just give me the point.
No.
Because I think the thing that I have to go with is and unfortunately, because you admitted it, Brendan, it just wouldn't happen. And
I think show weakness.
I think that's what it was.
The previous show and lost as well. I was right about it. The written word is better than video. Anyway,
so I'm giving the point to Jason, but
all right,
yeah. So what that means, what that means is that ties everything up, and it comes down to this last question, which I've not given them beforehand, and I'm also going to give them a limited amount of time to answer the question. So the way when I ask the question, and this particular question is open ended, so there isn't one or two choices. And when I ask the question, the first person that I hear come up with an answer, then they get to answer the question first. They get a minute to make their argument. Then the second person gets a minute 15 to make their argument and any kind of rebuttals to the first one, and then I'll give another 15 seconds to the first person to make any rebuts to the second guy. So that's the way that works. And the question is, and this is really kind of on the surface a really simple question, but I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more difficult to actually answer. So I want one person, not a team, but one person in this answer. Who is the best, let's call it CEO or lead developer on a game, an MMO right now?
I'm going to go with I don't remember his real name, Yoshi P.
Yoshi P. Okay.
Does Brandon have to come up with his first, or is he going to?
He's got to come up with one.
I really can't.
No, you're throwing it. No, don't throw it.
No.
I'm terrible with names for one thing.
Wait, okay, just name the game and the CEO that's in charge of it.
Okay, I'll just say Eve.
Hilmar.
Okay. All right. That's good.
I'm trying to think of a better developer.
So I got my minute now?
Okay, and you got a minute starting right now.
All right. Well, I give it to them, especially for what happened with Final Fantasy 14, because, like we kind of talked about at the beginning here, how, CEOs, they just don't apologize for when they make major mistakes. And he did. He apologized for what happened in Final Fantasy 14 with the horrible way it was originally. basically completely reworked the game. That's just unprecedented for someone to come out and say that sort of thing. And I realize some of it is kind of like the Japanese cultural phenomenon of them being just a lot more polite and being a lot more accepting of that sort of thing. But it still seemed amazing, was outstanding that they would take that kind of effort and the money involved with it. I mean, some of it was, they had to kind of do it to almost shore up the Final Fantasy name, which was really getting dragged through the mud with how bad 14 was. Did all that and really delivered. That's the thing. We talk about, you have to make promises. It's good that you are at least promising to do this sort of stuff. He did that, and then they actually came through and created a really good game that is pretty much universally loved now. So I would probably consider him to be great.
All right, time. Okay. Brendan?
Okay, Hilmar, because what you said is not unprecedented, because Hilmar totally did the whole apology, and it was a legit apology, and he more than just changed the direction of the game's development with they did the expansions like Crucible and stuff that iterated on the game and actually like tackle loads of big player issues. More than that, he restructured the entire company based on it. It was it's unfortunate that they had to let go World of Darkness and stuff, but like he's made EVE Online the central core product of the company because that's where the money comes from. So I think for switching and then recognizing basically this is our cash cow, let's not fuck it up. Hilmar.
Okay.
I got my rebuttal ready. I'm ready with my rebuttal.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. 15 seconds, quick.
Just look at the results. 14 was absolutely nothing. They rebranded it. It's a great game now. EVE, still doing okay. And then, they canceled one game and dust is practically dust already. So I give it to 14 still.
Okay. This is just strictly based on the argument here. I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to have to give this one to Jason. He's going to remain undefeated.
Baby.
So close on this one, though.
I feel like I just beat Eve.
But no, that was.
I'll be honest.
Yeah. It was a good fight all around. I really enjoyed this discussion. But as a prize, the winner gets to plug his stuff first. So go ahead, Jason. Where can we find you on the internet, and what have you got going on?
Don't I get to take his head now?
Oh, that's right.
Sure here, if you think you can take my head, I'm an island. You can
yeah,
I'll show you how we do things here.
All right,
Jason, go ahead.
You can find me writing all the time at MMOBomb.com. A little less occasional at MMORPG.com, but I've got a lot of articles going up this week on Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 4, that article about the Glassdoor stuff, and of course Guild Wars 2. Find me on Twitter at WinterInformal. Find me streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
Okay. Brendan, what have you got going on?
Yep.
Plug your stuff.
You can find me writing for Massively Overpowered. I do the EVE Evolved column and the Not So Massively column, which covers like MOBAs and other games that are totally not MMOs but are pretty damn big news. You can also find me at predestinationgame.com, where I'm basically making my own Space 4X game right now, and it's currently in early access. Fingers crossed, it's doing well. And that's it. And you can find me on Twitter at Nyphur, NYPHUR.
All right. And you can find me on Twitter, if you like, at Shadow, SHADDOE. I am writing over at Massively OP as well. I'm writing the Star Wars The Old Republic column and the Elder Scrolls Online column. And you also catch I don't have my poster up. Oh my gosh, my poster's gone. You can catch the comic book there over at Massively OP. And if you'd like to follow Massively OP on Twitter, we are Massively OP, as well as on YouTube. We are Massively Overpowered. On Twitch, we are Massively Overpowered there. Of course, MassivelyOverpowered.com and MassivelyOP.com. Both of them. Go to either one of those. And then if you like what you see here, if you like these shows and you like the stuff that Massively OP does, consider supporting us on Patreon. We're patreon.com/MassivelyOP. Thanks for tuning in. I'd like to thank my guests again for coming by, Brendan Drain and Jason Winter. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun on this show. I hope you guys did too. As for everybody else, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Do not send me hate about Star Citizen. Bye.